Experience Control GX for Men, the first shampoo with a brain. So smart, it...
Oh man, goodness. Okay, there's the intro. Ralph, you know what's funny? I rewatched my live stream from last night, dude, and I laughed because I called you that other name. I did, but then I corrected it and got it right later. I'm sure you caught it, but yeah, me, dumb. Anyway, I know it's kind of late here tonight, guys. Well, at least it is here in the Eastern Standard Time Zone. Did you mention it, D? Yep. I just don't understand why that happens. I think maybe my brain is like in a different gear and I don't get it. So can you guys hear me okay? I can hear myself through my headphones, so I think it's probably come through all right. And yeah. At any rate, glad you're all here. Ralph, what is the it's burned into your mind? It might be. I mean, I'm purposely like, don't say it. It's funny, I got my little black book over here. Maybe got a point because you can't see me tapping it. And I have one page in there open where I wrote your name in a big black Sharpie. and wrote Ralph. And I just actually stumbled on that. It was like yesterday or the day before, and it doesn't help. But I'll never forget that. I don't know why I do that. I'm so sorry, man. It's absolutely not a sign of disrespect, because I'm not trying to disrespect you, Ralph. I have all the respect in the world for you, actually, and I will work on that. I don't know. Just that must be my thing. That's my thing. Oh, anybody following the G7 summit that's happening in Toronto, Canada, which is a short 5 hours from where I live? It's going on. It's happening. President Trump's already been there, said what he had to say, and then he skedaddled because, he's got to broker a peace deal here with North Korea, which, if you've listened to any of my streams in the past, you guys, you already know that this isn't of my own accord, but I, Ralph, trying not to, he said, yeah, that whole thing is, I'll get into my thought. I was just going to finish up here in a second, but that whole thing's funny where they're starting to call it the G6 plus one. You know what? I'm American. So you know what I say? I think it's the G1 plus 6. That's what I say. American. I really, really, really like what this president is doing for our country. He is shaking that tree. He's grabbing it. Yeah. And then he's grabbing it by the neck, and he's like, and he just, I love it. I love it. He is so not a puppet. And yeah, D, he did. He said he wants Russia to be there, and he basically point blank period pointed out Barry Soetoro as the reason for what had happened in Ukraine, that Russia had to act on it. And in hindsight, that just may have been designed to kick Russia out of the G8, which turned into G7, now rapidly becoming the G6 plus 1. But I like my term better. I think it's the G1 plus 6. And he's standing up, and he's not taking any shit from, well, I won't berate the guy, but Trudeau is an absolute puppet from Canada. Absolutely. So is Macron. So is Merkel. Or Merkel. Angela Merkel. Sieg Heil. Now I can tell where my roots are, because that flowed off my tongue way too easy. Sieg Heil. Guys, I hope you're doing well. It's Saturday night / early Sunday morning. If you follow along, sorry, I got to shut this off while I'm talking to you. If you follow along with some of the supposed drops, I've been following a little bit an individual called I the Spy on Twitter. I take it with a very small grain of salt. I do, just because I do. It's not of Q, and it's not for Q, and I've already expressed how I think that in the grand scheme that could turn out to be something that could cause division in the future. But right now, everything is, I the Spy has put full faith and confidence into Q and absolutely stands behind Q. So I'm good with it. I'm good with it for now. I'm not sure I like all the prediction stuff and the question and answering segments of I the Spy. If you haven't seen it, go, get on Twitter and subscribe and read it. I'm not sure that those answers are all completely the right answers, but he does seem to answer, or she or it or whatever, LGBTQLMNOP, seems to answer a lot of questions that are going on. And, I think what I like most about President Trump is that he doesn't hold back. He does not pull punches. He just comes in, and in fact, he's got a finesse to him. This guy is like the velvet hammer. The velvet hammer, Donald Trump. He comes in and says, hey, this is a bad deal for America, okay? And I don't blame the last president, not completely. I blame 50 years of this shit going on, basically since Kennedy is what he's saying. Absolutely right. Absolutely right. And those who have eyes to see, ears to hear, we know he's right. Now, there's supposed to be some pretty big... Sorry, I'm reading the chat while I speak, but there's supposed to be some pretty massive information that's coming out on the 11th, which, guys, I'm just going to sidebar this and tell you this. Our youngest daughter turns 18 on Monday, the 11th. So, you know, this could be a day that lives in infamy with all of us, but for it to be on her birthday, like when she was born, if you could have told me that this was going to happen, what's going on right now, 18 years later, I don't know. I don't have a good thing to say about how I would have felt about it. But all I can say is that I'm very happy that things are panning out the way they are, and that we are in the time that we are in. I've said this before. I think we're very fortunate to be alive and to be awake. This is going to be a huge eye-opening experience for lots of people in your life that are not awake. And even those that, well, that is right. Even them that think they're awake are completely in the dark. They're in the dark here. They're in the dark, completely in the dark. Yeah, Ralph, I have 3 daughters, and you know, it's you know, it's been great. It's been great. And you know, I didn't get a son, but truth is, I've never in hindsight ever wished that I would have had a son. I mean, had one been a son, that'd been fine. There's something very special about daughters, and I completely and totally would not trade any of them in for a dude, especially because I know that a lot of us aren't worth our weight in shit until we're about 28, which says a lot about my wife because we got married when I was 21. So, not throwing myself under the bus, but, you know, it is what it is. So there's that. Sounds like in Arizona, sounds like they've investigated some of these different, you know, I don't want to call it a rape camp, but I mean, they've liberated some of these places and have actually found some kids and stuff now, and that's starting to come to light. You're not going to see it on your mainstream television, which is a fucking criminality. It didn't come out right, but it's fucking criminal is what it is. And I'm hoping that we do see dark coming to light. And I think we're going to. I absolutely think we're going to. I think it's beautiful. I am going to just briefly check the chat. And guys, I know I said it already, but thanks for coming. I appreciate it. Ralph says that he loves to piss off people who say things he doesn't like. Yeah, Ralph, you're talking about President Trump. I think it's more about saying we're not going to be walked on anymore. And does he take like some happiness in saying that we're not going to be walked on anymore? He does. He hurts feelings. He steps on feelings because just like in Australia, you're what do you guys have? Like a chancellor, or do you have a president? I'm embarrassed that I don't know that, but you know, that person should be all about Australia. If you live in Italy, whoever's leading that country should be all in for Italy. You get where I'm going with this. Spain, all in for Spain. I find it amazingly refreshing that we have somebody that's all in it for America, especially because he's trying to reclaim things that were here already, things that we had. That's the refreshing part of Donald Trump. And is he a little crude? Perhaps. Does he call a spade a spade? Oh, yeah, he do. He do. He's a New Yorker. He's 70. He's going to be 71, I think. Maybe he's going to be 72, but he's 70 something. And his birthday is coming up here next week sometime. I think I heard that. He doesn't got a lot of time to mess around. He's got some stuff that he's got to get done. And as this unfolds and as you see it, whether you like the guy or hate the guy, you have to respect the fact that he's trying to reclaim pieces of America that were absolutely given away. I mean, it is what it is. Absolutely given away. And for that, I absolutely respect him and I like it. So anyway, but I have no problem with a country's leader being all in for that country. And it doesn't matter. Heather taking off. Bye, Heather. Have a good night. Thanks for coming. Appreciate you popping in and saying hello. It's probably late where you live. It's really late here, but that's okay. I had quite a day yesterday and today. Grad parties, last night, 2 of them. Today, 3 of them. They're fun. I enjoy them. I enjoy meeting the parents. Some of them are shipping off their kid for the first time off to college and that kind of stuff. Now, I've been through this 2 times, and our grad party is actually coming up on the 22nd. So that'll be my 3rd. But, it's kind of neat to watch these parents kind of, I guess, be where Shawnee and I were, for our first, which she's turning 25 this month. I can't believe I'm that freaking old. I'm not old, though. That's what's funny. We see these parents at these grad parties. I mean, you want to talk about doing everything wrong in life. We are younger than these parents who are graduating their first kid and still have a couple of them left to go that are like middle school, not grammar school, but middle school, early high school. And we are still the pups. I mean, it's fun, Dee wants to know how Shawnee's handling having an empty nest. Just fine. We're actually talking about putting the house up for sale this summer. I won't get into the specifics, but we feel like we are right there at the tippy top of house values and where they're at. And it's the right time to sell because I don't know if I told you guys this before, but our dream has always been to eventually end up living with water. We want to be on water, and rivers are nice. They are, and man-made lakes are okay, but we want to be on we'd like to be 30 miles or so outside of Grand Rapids, where it's very quiet. I want to go out there and put bird seed in the bird feeder and get my binoculars out and look at them and stuff like that. I mean, I'm a simple man. I'm very simple, but those things I enjoy. And I guess that's maybe because I grew up with it. Not from my house, but from my grandparents. They did that kind of stuff, and there's something very beautiful in nature, just observing. And they used to put a salt block on the other side of the river, speaking of rivers, and it would bring the deer in, and they'd go there and they'd lick the block. And my grandfather would sit there and dial in. And I mean, you would just get to see these magnificent creatures in their rawest form. They didn't have a clue anybody was watching them. And certainly nobody had a scope on them because A, that's immoral with a salt block, and B, it's I don't know. It's just not. That would not be cool to take an animal that way. And a lot of hunters do it. They put apples and all that shit out. Man, that ain't hunting. That's not. And I'm not a big hunter, truth be told. I don't know if I ever told you guys this. I've gone deer hunting probably maybe 5 or 6 times. And the last time I deer hunted, I finally got to take one. And I took it. And you guys want to know something? I felt awful. I never went hunting again. Now, differentiate that from like survival, okay? I would take a deer in a New York minute if it meant survival with my family. But that kill, I will never forget. And I felt absolutely devastated. And I love deer. I love eating them. I think they're delicious. But enjoying the kill part of that changed me. Like I said, I'd take one in a second if it meant survival. But no, there's that part of me is left. I don't know why I feel bad, but I felt bad about it after it was done. I thought it'd be this momentous occasion that I took a deer and shit, and I just couldn't have felt worse about it, to tell you the truth. That being said, the deer was delicious, but I don't dig the kill. I don't dig it, which is way different than fishing, because I don't really think about it when I fish. I'll fish like Texas Tom fishes fish, and whatever, scale them, gut them, eat them. It's all good. But there's something about I think it must just be just the cute fucking face of a deer that, to be honest with you, kind of felt like if you had to shoot your dog. It's like sitting there like do blam, and it's done. And it's like, wow. And I know all the reasons to take deer. They're overpopulated. They starve to death because there's not enough food systems around and stuff like that. I'm just saying how it was for me. Anyway, kind of rambled on that. I'm sorry. Hey, Tony. Good to see you. Thanks for showing up. Chris Kuhn, and Ralph Dean, and Heather Coase. So I think when I got sidetracked, I was talking a little bit about Donald Trump leaving the G7. Do you guys notice that it was only after he left that you had spineless weenies like Justin Trudeau of Canada, who came out and tried to speak against President Trump? It's just funny. Nobody will confront him to his face. They just, like he said, they know that our trade deals suck, and that they've always sucked. And, it was all by design, you guys. I mean, I'm not here to say that we negotiated bad trade deals. Those were all negotiated in the effort to bring down America. It wasn't to ever elevate us. I think that's what got President Trump to actually throw his hat into the ring and decide to run. It was the wussification of America that was going on, and it was designed to get rid of the middle class. That's why the middle class is disappearing at a record pace in America. There's no reason, I should say, there's no sound reason that you could be the largest. How do I want to say this? Let me frame it. There's no reason that you could be leading the world in business, and yet you somehow managed to mess it up and ship all your jobs out of the country, and you watch the middle class disappear. That's by design. Make no mistake. It's by design. He's putting an end to it. He's absolutely putting an end to that. And that's, if you don't have a middle class in your country, you don't have a country. At least you don't have a thriving country. It's gone. That was by design, and that was part of the New World Order solution. It is what it is. That's what it was. So he's on his way to Singapore to meet with Kim Jong-un, as I've stated before. I think this deal was already done and completed. And like I said before this, I said, it's like if you elope, and then when you get back, you decide to have like a faux wedding and have a reception, even though you're already married. In other words, you already have signed the deal. You've already done the deal. And the rest of it's for cameras. We've known. And everything outside of that has been for the cameras and for the drama. And I think that was made to go on because as they continue to bash President Trump, and I mean, honestly, you look at everything they've thrown at him, and they have nothing to cling to. Stormy Daniels, that's it. I mean, really, it is. Now they're manufacturing things. It's so far out of balance how the reporting goes that at this point, it's if our country's well-being weren't on the line, it'd be comical. It really would. It'd be absolutely hilarious. But given the gravity of what this all means, I mean, there's nothing funny about it. We have one job being awake patriots, and that's to make sure that we don't get wrapped up into the mainstream television. As I've stated many times, it's called television programming for a reason. They're trying to program your mind. Don't ever forget that. There's 6 companies that control every single television station that you watch, and every one of them are part of the New World Order. So don't for a second think that it's not by design. Even Fox News, even if you look at Hannity and Tucker Carlson, which I don't watch, I'm just telling you, I'm not going to go back into that, but I don't watch them. However, I know just through Twitter and hearsay that they claim to have President Trump. Listen, none of them had President Trump's back when he was running. Maybe Hannity, but I feel that was just to keep the door open so that if he actually did win, then they could say, see, we've been behind him. I'm not taking away from the reporter. You know, that may have been Hannity's call to say, I believe this guy. But until he won, there was nobody on board with him. As you've heard many times, they never expected her to lose. Not for a second. They had the voting machines rigged. They had all of it rigged. Now, I don't know. I mean, I know why he won from the standpoint of there's enough awake people that voted him in. But if I found out later in my years that there was like divine intervention because it was so rigged against him, I wouldn't be surprised at all to know that. And what we have to thank for that is the internet. I've stated this before. If they could go back in a time machine, they would murder Bill Gates and they would murder Steve Jobs for creating the computers. That's the wild card they never expected to happen. They never expected for a second that the internet could be as powerful as it is and what it means to us. You guys, your internet connection and the fact that we have the First Amendment is so much more powerful than any weapon you could have in your house. It's not even funny. If they could get rid of the internet, they'd give everybody all the gun rights they wanted, but they can't. And what's funny is as they realize this, they're trying to shut down the First Amendment, your freedom of speech. They're trying to shut it down, but it's gained so much momentum and snowballed that people know that they're awake. And so they have to kind of go with it now, because if they ever shut it down, DC would be stormed with pitchforks and torches. I mean, it's full on. And that being said, if anything ever happens to our president, as it sits right now, like, God forbid he were taken out, but if he were taken out, the momentum is, it's there. The truth is there. There's no way that any of us patriots we're not going to let them get away with it if they even tried to do something like that. This movement is huge. It's huge. Anyway, it's kind of my soapbox. 30 minutes, just like that. I don't know where it goes. I don't know. I don't know where it goes. I swear I don't. So again, as you can tell, I didn't have an agenda to talk about. We talked about hunting. We talked about me selling the house, moving on to property, kind of going that route, doing all that stuff. But, and then we also talked about, our president or your ambassador for your country looking out for the best part of your country. So, what I will say is that there's a lot of signs that are pointing to the 11th of this month in 2 days, just like I told you, my daughter's birthday, 18 years to the day. And you're going to want to keep your television on the news that day. As much as that pains me to say, you're going to have to do that, because I have a sneaky suspicion that we're going to have things that are coming to light that are going to be unavoidable to talk about in the mainstream television. And so, guys, as of right now, it's the 10th where I live. This information is all supposed to drop on the 11th. So effectively 24 to 36 hours from now, anywhere in that window, I think life is going to change as we all know it. I really, really do. And I believe that wholeheartedly. But what that also means is that you've got a wild animal in the deep state caged, or not caged, but backed into a corner, which means gloves are off, no holds bar. You keep your wits about you. I mean that. You pay attention to your surroundings. I know you always should, but you do that. They could be planning to do multiple things in multiple areas, and that's not a stretch. I mean, if you really think about the fact that they're about to fall as a deep state, anything goes. The good news is that I think we are about as far away from World War III as we could possibly be. And that is a beautiful thing. But a false flag does not mean that people don't die. And they're not going to hold back. Anyway, I'm going to check out the chat a minute here. You guys are chatting up a storm. Tony Simply. I know I said hello to you earlier. What you talking about here? You got everybody in here? Tony, no, I do. First Amendment and Second Amendment audits, and all my videos have been taken down by YouTube. I guess I'm not surprised. Just one. Sorry, guys. Chat amongst yourselves for a second. I think I'm so far out of this conversation on the chat that I'm not sure it would make sense for me to go back and try to read them all. But as you've heard many times, thanks for being here. I'm so glad you are, and I appreciate it. I really do. I really do. We're going to be seeing some amazing things. Ralph, you got 3 question marks. I'm not sure what that's for. Was that for me or was that for Tony? It's okay. Either way, I'm just curious. Dee Dee says the booms will hit on the 11th. Yeah. Guys, how weird is it? This whole Kate Spade suicide and Anthony Bourdain suicide. You know any of the details going on? Kate Spade's husband, I guess, has all kinds of weird, sick shit in his like or as a home screen or something. He's got pictures that kind of point to pedophilia. Like there's one, I know it's like a picture of a girl from the front this way, like a little girl, and the picture is her down and she's like eating a freaking popsicle. I mean, That's not right. I mean, that's just so far beyond being right. It's just sick. So how far was she into it? Anthony Bourdain, I heard that it was his girlfriend at the time, but then he might have married her. This gal's one of the first ones, we'll just say it was his wife, came out against Harvey Weinstein and talked about what a creep this douchebag was. And he is a certifiable grade A D bag. I mean, what a piece of shit this guy is. They showed pictures of him the day that he actually got perp walked with the handcuffs on. And he had this big dumbass grin on his face while he's walking. And it's like, dude, do you know what you're like charged with, you sick bastard? And he might not be the sickest bastard in the bunch, but something tells me he is. He's a nasty, nasty fella. I think we're going to see that on a grand scale, to tell you the truth. And it's my hope that this gets televised and it gets huge momentum behind him. I don't think they can shut up the truth movement any longer. They could pull the plug tomorrow on YouTube. I think people would march on Washington in a way that would it would scare them. People are not happy. And as I've said, the internet right now is our greatest weapon we have. It's bigger than any weapon you could have in your house. But if they come out and they try to let these perps off and do that kind of shit, we're not to the point, guys, where we're building up and expecting something, and then all of a sudden they throw a curveball and it just deflates our spirit. We're not. They can't deflate our spirit. There's no prosthetic for an amputated spirit. There's not. And I don't think any of us would let that go down. I mean, knowing what I know today, I'd lay myself out on the line for it. You bet I would. Truth is stranger than fiction. And we've been lied to our entire lives. You know? That's my take anyway. So, 37 minutes. Haven't really said a lot, but I do appreciate y'all being here. And I'm not going to drag this out anymore. Just wanted to come in, say hello, maybe voice a couple things I've been thinking about all day. I won't completely get into that. You know, but yeah, you know, it is what it is. So there's that. All right. Enough of that nonsense. I've gone on long enough. Guys, let the people closest to you in your life let you know what they mean to you. And just do that, okay? I won't go into all the butt smacking stuff and all that kind of stuff. But, you know, keep them right there on the forefront of your mind. And, you know, I don't know. I think it's one of the greatest commandments there are. Is I don't even know if that's a commandment, but I know love is huge. And it feels right. And if loving somebody is wrong, I don't want to be right. So, anyway, from my house, Shawnee and I, to you guys, love you. I will be watching in angst, like most of you, over the next 36 hours to see what's going on. So, God bless and have a fantastic rest of your night. I'm going to bed. Bill Mish. Out.